have anything gaming related to talk about this week at all?
Yeah, I got one. It's related to games, kind of.
Is it okay?
It's a start. It's a Dreamcast. Crispin, I might have told you this story. I don't know. That's how I start all my stories. So
I'll stop you when you've told it to me, and then you can just stop telling it.
Yeah. That makes for great radio.
Yeah. So
I did hear this one.
At one point when I was in grad school, I had a friend down from San Diego who was my old roommate as an undergrad was staying over, and one morning he wakes up and he goes over to my room and wakes me up and says, "Hey, do you know some guy meets this description?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude? Leave me alone. Go back to bed." And it's like someone was just in here like standing above me, and I asked him like who are you? Do you know Sean? And the guy was just like, "Yeah, I know him." And and he's like, "I just sensed something was wrong." So I told him, I don't think you should be here. And then he just said, "Okay." And then he left. And so the setup is that this guy also, he was prone, this guy's Mike Cole, he was prone to waking hallucinations. So now and then he'd wake up and think he saw
hallucinations.
Yeah, where in the borderlands between sleep and wakefulness, like sometimes certain people will have these odd, like jarring transitions where they'll think they see themselves looking at them from the end of the bed. Various, neuropsychologists and stuff have taken it back and through time and said, hey, maybe this is an explanation for some of the more archaic descriptions of people thinking that there were demons sitting on their chest when they woke up and making it difficult for them to breathe and whatnot. So anyway, this is all important because I just dismissed it. Ultimately, I'm like, you tripping, Mike. Until a week later, which would be Christmas, it was the night of Christmas Eve, I was sleeping and I woke up. I don't know why. It was just kind of, I woke up and I looked at my door, which was closed, and beneath it, I saw a flash of light. And it was just a very small single-bedroom apartment where there was the room, and then right outside there was the living room, which was the kitchen and everything all together, and then there's a bathroom next to it. So I said, okay, whatever. I'm just tripping out. I'm going to go to the bathroom and go back to bed. So I go to the bathroom, I stand there, and I turn around, and as I'm going back to my room, I see a silhouette of some fool like standing in my living room. And so then I just kind of pretended I didn't see him and went back into my room and looked around for something. I didn't have any kind of weapon. So I just took a belt I had and then connected the buckle and then let the rest hang in my hand so that I could like whip the shit out of him with that, hitting him in the face with the buckle. And then so I went out in the living room holding this thing, and the guy was like still there. And I turned the light on and he's just there all of a sudden. I was like, what are you doing in my house, man? But I was all pissed off. I was like total fight or flight.
Was he like a crazy-looking guy?
Really keyed up. No, he just was a dude. He was wearing like a hoodie, and he had his hands in his pocket doing that kind of shit. And the first thing he says, he's like, "It's okay. I've been sent here to protect you." And, whoa. And then I look, as he says this, I'm looking around and I see, and this is why we're talking about games now.
Yeah,
my Dreamcast and my Dreamcast games are all lined up, with my checkbook and my wallet. They're all lined up on my coffee table. And there's like a bag near him. And he's like sitting there and I'm like, dude, okay, seriously. Like, I'm like, I called the cops. I didn't really, of course, my phone was out in the living room. I didn't even have a cell phone at the time. And he's like, just remember, I've been sent here to protect you. And so he was really great at it because I came out of the room ready to immediately just start fighting. And I knew I'm like, hey, I'm probably about to get stabbed or shot now, but I'm not going to go in my room and pretend that this shit's not happening. So I went out there ready to do that. And immediately it caught me off guard long enough to ask myself, what the hell? In Ryan's words. And so then, yeah, anyway, basically it just was super awkward. And he kept saying, just remember, you're unhurt. Just remember, you haven't been hurt. Like some like weird innuendo, like, hey, I had the chance when you were asleep, maybe I could have gotten there and jacked you or something.
Was there was there an acknowledgement here that a robbery was in place?
Other than that, I was like, other than I'm sitting there like brandishing the belt thing, and he's kind of doing the hands in the pockets, like intimating a weapon,
he has a gun,
right? And then eventually, it was just the most bizarre thing. I'm sure it probably just happened in 30 seconds, And he says, "Okay, I'm gonna grab my kamikaze sack and just slip out. Remember, I'm here protecting you." And like then I was like, oh, all right, dude. And then he grabbed his bag, and then went and immediately.
Did he scoop up your stuff?
No, he didn't get anything.
So he didn't steal anything.
Then I would have went back to the fighting mode. At that point, I was like, okay, you can leave and I'll work about catching you later. But I'm like, I still don't know what he had because he was doing that with both hands, like playing very much like, I don't know what you got. And I'm like, and also, if someone's crazy enough to break in your fucking place twice, to come in your place twice, I mean, obviously you're not talking about like, hey, the old, like, let's meet in the playground and tussle. You're talking about, pretty much a fight to the death or incapacitation. So I was like, hey,
to protect that Dreamcast.
I got that,
sure.
yeah.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, that was, and it turned out he had the key to the place because that's why I didn't hear it, and somehow I had the key to it. And so
How do you have a key?
freaked me out for a long time. I put a bunch of wind chimes on the door to wake me up. And I got a,
Not only is it good protection, but they sound nice.
yeah.
Chimes
Everyone,
are there,
there's so
nice
many people.
ambient sort
And then
of-
you go back to work, and everyone, of course, you hear, when I was in grad school, and I also worked at the grocery store, everyone at the grocery store side's like, oh, man, I would have blown that motherfucker's head off if he did that to me. And, like, you got to hear that all month long. And, like, well, too bad I didn't have a gun to do it with, huh? And they, well, that's why we got to get you one. And it's like, so instead I bought basically like an entrenching tool. And I had that right on my bed.
You needed
there,
like
so
a
I was-
ninja star and like a machete.
Yeah.
My version of the story would have involved going back to the room, staying there, clutching my tenant's insurance policy under my blanket.
It was a second story, too, so I couldn't go out the window.
Pardon me while I take some photos of my property.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So-
if it's
so
gone,
who is
Today's
this guy?
topic. Has anyone ever tried to gank your games?
Yeah,
It was just
actually.
some fool. It was just some...
Did you ever find out what the deal was?
Never caught him or anything. Please don't care. Because I ended up... It was so weird. And it was in, like... Because I was moving from Seattle to Bellingham, Washington, which is up on the Canadian border toward Vancouver. And I was like, I'll just look in the paper or whatever. I don't need to go up and check anything out there. It's Bellingham. How bad can it possibly be? And so I ended up... There actually was a slum area there. And I ended up signing up for a year lease with this place in it where there had just been a drive-by like 6 months before. There was like no lighting or anything, just stray cats everywhere. And
but that was like the most polite, relaxing robbery that I've ever.
Yeah, I know.
very much
He
was.
said he was there to
Yeah.
protect you.
He
I
had-
thought it was going to be like a superhero story.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's what it was sounding like to me.
he knew how to play it.
He was like a hero sort of guy,
He was a
like
hero.
the mutants had come in to try to steal your shit, and he was there saving it.
So what did he take?
He didn't take anything.
Weird.
Maybe he was there to
He was
protect
just
you.
lining it. That's how a lot of criminals, burglars or whatever, they'll lay stuff out. Like Sean, you were saying you were burgled.
Well, I don't
were
understand this
burgled.
thing about
We were burgled.
lining the shit
Burgled
up.
the turf.
Was he like an OCD criminal? Why was he lining it all up? Just shove it into the bag.
Our house was broken into, and
Yeah.
we didn't see the guy do it. But when we got home, our stereo equipment and all our CDs were perfectly lined up on the floor. Like they took it all apart and laid it all out.
That's so freaky.
They left with our jewel cases, but not the CDs,
Weird.
and our 2 Atari Lynxes. Like, we had one. Me and my brother each had an Atari
had
Lynx,
2
so we
of
could,
them.
so we could link them up and play. I don't know,
Wow.
Xenophobe together or whatever the hell you could
Holy
play on
shit.
that thing.
The Atari Lynx is almost as big as the 8800 GTX.
It was a giant machine, and I loved it.
Wow.
It had scaling.
I've never heard of this, the crooks lining the stuff up.
It was really.
This is a
creepy.
whole...
Might be the same.
I'm not
clip.
reading the right crime
be
manual.
the same one.
Yeah, I'm the same guy. Yeah.
Well, our theory was our grandmother who lived upstairs, like started coming down the stairs, so they jetted. Because otherwise, why would you just take the jewel cases and leave the stereo equipment like that? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Did
was
you just
really
say they didn't?
freaky.
They took the jewel cases, but not the CDs.
Right.
So they took
blank
the
jewel-
CDs out of the jewel cases.
Yes.
They stole blank jewel cases?
Yes.
They can come here to GFW because we got like 8,000 of those.
I don't know
They
what
can
they
have
were
them.
doing. Maybe they were. I really have no idea. It was just creepy.
Apparently, it was all to protect Sean.
That dude's protecting Sean to this day. The dude's standing outside Sean's apartment
Watching
to
over
protect you.
When there was only one set of footprints, Sean.